Or even like this image right here. The Bible talks about that God is the potter and we are the clay. God has an image for us beside just being like Christ. He's going to get us there in a way that we don't understand. I don't know much about pottery, and I surely don't know much about the work of God. And I surely can't imagine how God takes an imperfect person like me and tries to form him into the image of his son. I can't question God when God makes a movement with me as the clay that I don't like. I can't say, God, you don't know what's best for me, because he's the only one that knows what's best for any of us. He's the only one. And so when we receive discipline from God, whether it be given through people, through circumstances, through the Bible, through any means whatsoever, we have to receive it, regardless of what we think of the way, the messenger, what the word's saying. We have to receive it as from God. And so when we have this reaction, hopefully it's going to change us. So God's saying when we deal with this, there's a proper reaction in coming out of the discipline. Starting in verse 12, he says, "Therefore strengthen your feeble arms and weak knees. Make level paths for your feet, so that the lame may not be disabled, but rather healed." If you've been through any sort of rehabilitation, and even if you have an injury in sports or any of these things, you need to go through some sort of rehab and use of that injured part to make it better. My dogs, for example, when it got really cold, my dog hobbled around on 3 legs. He might have been hurt. But if he had never gotten back on that 4th leg and started walking again, that leg might have really gotten messed up. The dog that I can't stand, guess how many legs it walks on? But not because of me. Maybe God's doing something to that dog. The dog, I don't know if it's learned, but that dog hasn't been as bad as it was. The same thing can happen with us. God forbid that something would happen to one of our limbs for us to be disciplined. But in any way that we feel we've been hurt by experiences, discipline or otherwise, we have to realize if we let it stop us from doing things that are godly, it's going to hurt us more, it's going to help us. If we sit around, like for example in space, they send people to the moon and all, they have the space station up there. Somehow in space, people with their bones and muscles, I think, stop being nearly as strong. Because they don't have gravity, they don't have walking around to exercise. And they run on the treadmills, they do all these things. But somehow, God has made it to where we need to walk on earth to have what we need in our body to make it strong. The same thing goes for us in our Christian walk. If we decide to walk further and further from God or take more and more breaks from doing God's work, it's going to hinder us to where when we try to do anything for God, it's going to be a lot of difficulty. I know in my life when I've struggled, I can repent off of things, and of course we need to. But I find even when I repent, if I have been weak in an area for a long period of time, it takes me a while to get back to where I was spiritually. Because I haven't been exercising as I should. This last verse I want to read should hopefully speak toward that. It says, "Make every effort to pursue peace with all men and to be holy. Without holiness, no one will see the Lord." So everything we're doing in life is for holiness. It's for being shaped and to glorify God. Where we're being shaped into this image of Christ, there's no telling what we're going to have to go through. There are so many times that I've looked at paths in my life, especially before I was a Christian, and looked at what would have happened if something had changed. I'm a fireman, but I'm not going. They say that you shouldn't let it interfere with your job. But for example, we went to a fire yesterday. And in doing this, I don't know anything about being a fireman. I guarantee it. Spray water on the fire, it goes out, right? You wear the helmet, the clothes and stuff. That's about all I know. You're supposed to start up the truck, if you get there first. Not a whole lot of other knowledge I know. But I try to do it to the best of my ability with what little knowledge I have. The same with walking with God. We don't know exactly what Jesus looks like the first moment we become Christians. But the more we know and walk with God, the more we're going to be able to be formed into the image of his Son. The more we'll be able to examine God and Jesus through the Word, the more we'll be able to see when we fall short. and to be able to walk the race that's set before us, to do it and persevere and to not carry all the other stuff. Jesus didn't fill every day with all this other junk and find half an hour to go out and do something godly. Jesus' whole life was conformed to the image of his Son. We need to do that as well in our own lives. We need to be willing, whatever ways we need to lay aside the sin and the things that are keeping us from giving our life fully to God. And when we see areas that need correction, man, just at least start on correcting those areas, at least make progress toward it, as opposed to, oh, well, once, Lent's over, I'll do it. Once this is over, I'll do it. We need to always be willing to walk with God and to always see, when I would run the races, the 800, I wasn't carrying anything with me. I had on, the little track shoes. I wouldn't carry keys on me. The same thing spiritually. We should be so given and so desiring to run the race for God that anything that's keeping us from doing that to the best of our ability, we'll put aside. If we're having trouble with our faith, we got to believe in the resurrection. We got to believe that if God can raise the dead, he can do anything. We can turn from any sin.